Mm-hmm.
All right, we're together today. Hi, everyone.
We are together in Texas.
Which I didn't know if we would ever say that.
You're in a rice shirt.
Hey, well, yeah. Rice, sweet, talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we are doing a Facebook Live. Hopefully, this is showing up. Not sure. Yeah. Um, and
I don't even know. So wait, okay, so are we talking about colleges we've seen? Is that what we're doing a little bit?
yeah,
It's like a
colleges
little
we've
roundup?
seen. We just talked about our road trip and colleges we've seen so far. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then some questions, and anyone else has any questions, feel free to post them. We can talk about planning because there's been tons of that, and also just how to build a college list. So, what are your feelings about the colleges we've seen?
I love how you like say it like as if there's like some punchline, like there's
No.
like a dark
The
secret.
punchline is that we're just here doing a Facebook Live that we couldn't get started. No, go ahead. Okay, tell everyone all the colleges we've seen because there's been a lot and it hasn't even been a week.
So if we skipped a college, it's not a slight against that college.
Right. It's because we're old.
Sometimes it's like because we've seen it. Like we were in Durham and we didn't go to Duke.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant if we skipped, like, forgot one. I was gonna say that.
Oh, no. I guess my point also is that we're not stupid. We knew Duke was in Durham. Like, you don't need to tell us.
We definitely knew that, and we've seen it many times.
Right, that's why we didn't go. Like, it's like, oh, we've seen this one. Right, that's also like UNC Charlotte. Like, we just drove past it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, we went to Queens
Mm-hmm.
in Charlotte.
Yeah.
We went to Furman
Yeah.
in South Carolina. Then we went to Clemson.
Right.
And then we hung out in Atlanta, and I saw some relatives.
Right.
I
didn't.
No, she didn't. She didn't. And then I saw. Let's see. We saw Emory and
Yes.
Georgia Tech
Georgia Tech.
and Oglethorpe
right.
and Agnes Scott, and then we saw Auburn.
Yeah.
As we were driving,
Yeah.
and
then we got to Texas,
then we got to Texas,
and we've
yes.
seen 3 here.
Yeah, we have. We saw University of Houston.
Yeah.
And then we saw Rice, and today we saw Texas A&M.
Okay. So that's a run. That's a lot.
It's a lot of schools.
We actually need a little bit of a break before we see others, just because they're kind of all starting to bleed into each other. But what's your thoughts? Do you like how I did this Facebook Live?
2 minutes, but I was teaching 5 minutes ago. I just want to make this clear.
I was too.
Yeah, it's true. So I mean, there's like good things and bad things, right? Because on the one hand, you get to compare schools. Like yesterday, we were at Rice, and one of the things that we were talking to the woman in admissions about was like, oh, the vibe of students on campus and who succeeds there and blah, 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 blah. And you were saying, well, like, you can really feel it. And I was like, we can feel it in part because we've just been to all these schools.
Yeah.
And you can see how differently students are. I mean, it's a little bit of that is like, oh, what day of the week? Is it afternoon or morning?
Yeah.
But like a lot of it too, it's like, okay, if everybody's walking alone and everybody's like, then that's a different vibe than like, if students are talking and everybody's at the coffee house.
And they're in groups when they walk.
They're in groups when they walk.
I mean, not everyone, but yeah.
Or like, everybody's in sort of slightly dressed up versus like everybody's in their pajamas. Like, what? I saw a group of girls in their pajamas. And so I think like there's, I just think that aspect, I feel like I've gotten a better social vibe, a better sense than I have in the past when I'm like seeing a school on a day and like there's not a comparison point.
Right.
But then also they start to bleed together.
Yeah.
It's like which one had the red bricks? Oh wait, was it all of them?
And I don't like the bricks when it's all bricks. And I'm not the only one who feels that way.
I know.
I do think that it's helpful to see a bunch of schools together and compare those sort of things. I also think it's really nice to just get a couple days off. And then go back to it, just because it does start all feeling.
I would never recommend that a client of ours did anything like what we're doing.
Don't do it.
No, like it wouldn't matter if it was practical. I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I know.
Don't. But some families do epic road trips, seeing colleges, and I wouldn't recommend that. Like,
No.
I just wouldn't.
No. I mean, unless they're on like a huge road trip and they decide to stop and see.
Oh,
a few.
sure. Like
Yeah.
that's, I mean, and sometimes it's just how it evolves,
Yeah.
and sometimes your student's been accepted a bunch of places. But I just think you want, ideally, I mean, I think like 4 or 5 schools in one trip is like more than enough.
Yeah.
We're just crazy.
We are crazy. And how many more do we have to do? Like 20 more or something?
I don't even know.
Yeah. This wasn't my idea.
You're such a liar.
I know.
She made me do this.
It was my idea. It's really good. It's really good. Okay, so my takeaway is that it's really hard to judge a school on an hour visit. I mean, I think it is in some ways. You learn a lot, but you don't learn everything.
Mm-hmm.
The day of the week does matter.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that initial reaction, it really matters. And I had a few of those where there was an initial reaction that it just kind of stuck with me. And I was thinking, you know what, if I was a kid, sometimes those initial reactions, you never get over it.
But see, I don't like that.
I don't either. I
think it's really unfair.
No, I do too. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's completely unfair. But sometimes these initial reactions. So like sometimes you might go see a school. Like I was talking to one client, and the day they went, everything was off. But that and they knew it was off, but they can't get past it. And so that school, even though it's kind of a good match, they just can't see themselves there. So sometimes I think the visit shouldn't be the everything.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a reason to fight against that.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying really hard to sort of, schools where we saw it like, in the morning and student, or schools where we, where they're on the weekend, the weekend in particular.
Yeah.
Like it's just a different vibe.
You just don't know.
Though, I mean, I will say, like Emory was hopping on the weekend.
It really was. It was hopping, and people were together, and lots of different things were going on. And of course, it was a weekend where they were training all the student guides too, though. So
yeah. We get to listen in on some different tours.
I know, it was really, really helpful. We're just kind of peeking it. But there were so many of them.
Yeah.
So it was like we got a little tour along the way. No, but I was saying, because I was thinking about it, because I did have some very strong reactions to a few schools. And I was thinking, was that fair?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So basically, I've been calling myself out.
Okay, good.
That's what I do. So I'm saying,
when I tried to call you out, you were like, no, this school is terrible.
It just has to sit with me for a little bit. Yeah. It takes me a while to absorb. I'm a little like someone else in your family.
Okay. Yeah. So, favorite campus so far?
Like just the campus.
Well, like, I mean, in total, like,
I have a few I liked. I did like Rice.
Yeah, we both really liked
Rice. I really
Rice.
Liked Rice.
I have to say it surprised me a little bit.
It didn't surprise me as much.
Yeah, you knew the school a little bit better than I did.
Yeah.
I knew it a little bit, but like, I liked it a lot more than I anticipated. I thought, oh, I'll like Rice, but then when we got there and I was like, oh, I really like this school.
Yeah. Yeah. Rice is the type of school where I'm like, oh, I should have gone here.
Ooh.
But I'm not sure back in the day if it was the same. But yeah, Rice was really good. I pleasantly surprised by Emory. I was not expecting.
I was too, and I've been to Emory before.
Yeah, I know.
And that's a good point too with the sort of like the moment when you do. It's also like your own state. Like the last time I was at Emory, like my dad was in the hospital.
Yeah, so
and
associated.
Oh, totally. And I think it was like at the very, I mean, I don't think I was doing this quite yet. I can't remember. But I was like, well, I'll go take a walk around, and I was like, oh, this campus so sad. Like it wasn't at all. Like, it's so funny.
It was your frame of mind.
Oh, totally
Yeah.
my frame of mind.
Yeah.
It is nice that the hospital is right on the,
Yeah.
one of the main brand. I mean, Emory runs all the hospitals in Atlanta.
Yeah, but that's a benefit. I was very surprised about that school. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did.
Yeah, I didn't, and I was, we saw it right. And again, it's real unfair to Georgia Tech, and I'm a double legacy to Georgia Tech. Like I feel like I should be loyal to it on some level, but seeing it back to back, one day and then the next with Georgia Tech, and a little bit was the time of day, but some of it was just. Kids at Georgia Tech were not social.
No.
The vibe was not friendly. Everybody seemed stressed out. The most conversations we saw were kids walking around with their parents or like adults like us. Like
we were having a good conversation.
Yeah, no, totally. And that I thought was a little bit sad.
It was.
Like, whereas at Emory, you know, everybody seemed happy. There were flyers up everywhere. Everybody's doing things. There's this and that and the other. There's this group. There's that group.
Yeah.
You know, the campus center, kids are lounging around. Oh, hey, how are you? You know, at Georgia Tech, it's like, let me go to the library and study. Like, you know, and these are two schools that are both really competitive. So it's not 100. I think sometimes you get this idea that like the competitive schools have one vibe, the less competitive schools have another vibe, but it's way more complex than that. And that really highlighted, and I know that, but like that really highlighted it for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The thing too with Georgia Tech is we did see students. It wasn't like it was the weekend, so it was dead.
No.
It wasn't
We
like
saw
that
a lot of students.
Ton of students. They were just all singular, and they were all
almost all singular.
Yeah, and they were all seemed a little stressed. And at the library, they weren't studying together or anything.
A little bit sad.
It was a little sad. I was a little sad there.
Yeah.
Of course, that was just one day and one little snapshot.
No,
but just our takeaway.
That was the takeaway. Yeah. And I think, and again, you know, going back to like what you said, like about challenging your perceptions and not trying to make too much of one particular visit or moment.
Yeah.
I mean, kids who we've worked with who I think really think through their choices visit at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And you can't always do that. Sometimes you can't visit at all.
Yes.
So I don't, you know, but like a lot of time students go, you know, they visit once when they're touring schools and then they visit another time and then they go to the admitted students day and they're like, that's it. I'm in love. I'm going. You know?
Yeah. It's nice if you can get that many visits in. That's not possible for everyone, but there's other ways to research it though, if you can't do that.
Okay, other ones you loved.
Okay, so I was surprised left and right on this trip.
I know, you were. Jill has learned something about herself.
I have learned something about myself.
And?
I've learned that I like bigger universities. I like the large universities.
This really surprises me because we went to UMD together once, and you were like, this is so big. Nope.
Well, okay, let me tell you about UMD.
Uh-huh.
It was the buildings were large.
Yeah, they were.
They were like, and they all looked the same. And I was just like, yeah.
Not all of them, but a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they are not all,
But
you liked the music school better. It was a little bit smaller.
I did like the music school at UMD.
I mean, that wasn't even on this visit. That was a while ago.
Yeah. No, but the music school at UMD is really good. Mm-hmm. It's very supportive, and I love the vibe there. That's an aside. But I was surprised how much I like larger universities, which I guess is good that I graduated from a UC then, because that was a large university. Sometimes I look back and think, oh, I should have gone to a small liberal arts college, but maybe not. Maybe not at all, you know?
I think, but this is why, like, you need to take your student to see different types of campuses. And it, like, sometimes families think that they know where the kid wants to go.
Yeah.
You know, and then the kid goes to visit and you get a different vibe. I mean, it is also the case, like you thought today that you were really going to dislike this school. And instead you were like, oh.
I loved it.
You really liked some aspects. It was kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
And that was Texas A&M.
I know.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
You know, one of the things we were struggling with, especially like University of Houston or Texas A&M, like these are schools that are just in state, or even Auburn is like really regional. And so, you know, it's like, well, who are we going to send there? Like, you know, because we think about our client list, and sometimes it's a little tricky. Like, it's like, oh, I don't know if we're going to send any of our students there, you know, to some of the schools that we visited, but maybe we'll send a kid 3 years from now.
Yeah, you never know.
We haven't met yet.
You never know who our future clients will be, but it is really good to see all these different types of schools though, because we're learning about ourselves too. So I learned I like big universities. I'm not so hot on some of these really small ones.
Yeah. And
what did you learn?
Oh, I don't know what I learned. I do like the small ones though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? No?
Oh, what have I learned? I like some of the big schools more than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Different schools have different vibes. Some of these big schools have different vibes. I mean, one thing that I was really reminded of as we went to some, like particularly at Auburn, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, people in the Deep South just talk to you. Like, like at Auburn.
I've been loving it.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh yeah, like I haven't lived down here in a while. People just come up and talk to you. And that's not like that in the North.
I really enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like talking to people. But anyway, biggest other surprise.
Oh. Furman. Furman. I really liked it. I didn't think I would. Like I've even been by there before.
Yeah, I have too.
And I just sort of I was so corporate looking with this fountain in the front of the, and they have a lake, like where, I don't know why I felt that way. When we walked around though, and especially the arts building, I was just like,
any student who's thinking about art or art history, they should look at that.
Yeah,
it was
classics,
great.
Geology and geosciences,
right.
and environmental
music was amazing. Supportive. I got such a good vibe in there.
Yes, I had a really good vibe from a number of different aspects. I really liked our conversation at admissions there because, a lot of the time, and this was true, like yesterday I had a really good conversation at Rice with admissions as well. But like at the admissions, the woman who was working at admissions, she was like, I'm sorry, I can't be more specific. And I'm like, it's okay. I know what holistic admissions is. But like, it's...
We get it.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. I get it. There's not a set answer. You can't tell me AP or dual enrollment because you don't have one answer. It can look different in different contexts. And
definitely.
Blah, blah, blah. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate that they tell me that. But at Furman,
they were specific.
They ranked it. She was like, this is more important than that. This is more important than that. For homeschoolers, this and this. I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, it was amazing. I wish every conversation would be like that, and I wish they'd put it on their site. It'd be so helpful. But Furman was great. Surprised me completely. I thought I don't even think I wanted to go. Maybe.
You were resistant.
I was resistant.
I was like, but we're going to drive right by it. We should definitely go to Furman.
Okay, and so then follow that up with Clemson, and I was also a little bit surprised.
Oh yeah, we both liked Clemson more than we anticipated.
Friday night. It was Friday
late afternoon. Students were getting out of their last class. Yeah.
It started with the big oldest oak tree or whatever in South Carolina that I just had to have pictures with, and then we just decided to walk around, and it was enjoyable. That was. I mean, the kids were all playing with the therapy dogs. They were playing with therapy dogs. It was hopping in different areas. People were talking to each other.
Yeah.
I just really had a good feel there. I was surprised.
I was surprised too. The business school was great. Furman is test optional for homeschoolers. A lot of these schools, Rice as well. Like a lot of these schools test optional, but they are pretty clear, especially the more selective ones, that they want to see test scores from homeschoolers more than they want to see it from other students. But then, of course, that it kind of depends.
And that can look differently. Like we have AP scores that sometimes that works. It just depends.
Yeah.
But Furman is test optional.
Yeah.
And they like homeschoolers. Some homeschoolers up for one of their biggest scholarships right now.
They're big full ride.
Yeah, they're full ride. So that was really great.
They're full tuition stuff. Yeah. But Clemson, I mean, the business school, like I was like, oh, it was hopping.
The kids
hopping. Were all,
the business school was hopping.
The building was nice and everything. I mean, it was just
new.
Really, fairly new. The main building, and had a really nice. The library was lovely. I mean,
and then when we drove out, all those kids were fishing and.
We saw students fishing and like.
Yeah. It was a great little place.
It was. I liked that. It surprised me a little bit. And it was a really friendly campus. And this is like, this is what you've talked about a bunch about, like
mental health.
Yep.
Yeah. So mental health is something I do pick up on. I try.
Yeah, we try.
It's really important to me. It's one of my top focuses in this. And you can feel certain campuses where, I mean, I almost want to say a happy index, and like the happy index at Clemson seemed higher than at others.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. You can't just be studying and not doing anything else.
I think that's one of the tricky things about a smaller campus is that when it doesn't turn out to be a fit, when it turns out to be a fit, it's just, that's it.
Yeah. It's great.
And my kid is at a small school. You've got a kid at a small school. And it, I just think it's really good when it works.
Yeah.
I think when it doesn't work, that's a lot harder than, because when you're at a big school,
there's other things.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, it turns out that all the people in my major are not people I like, but that's okay because I've got big activity and they're completely 100% different
Yeah. Set of people.
Yeah, it's just completely different.
Yeah.
So I think it's, it's like being in a small town
Yeah.
and you can pick someone else.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, the other schools we haven't really talked about is Queens.
Oh, we missed Queens. Oh yeah, like Queens and Oglethorpe
and
Agnes Scott.
Agnes Scott.
I mean, I loved Agnes Scott. It's a beautiful little campus, and the bookstore was so cute.
Yep.
She didn't love it. The library was closed, which actually, I agree with you, kind of problematic.
I mean, it was the weekend.
Yeah.
It was closed like all weekend, I think.
And it was.
Yeah.
They had two different sets of hours, which to me implied that
maybe it's open sometimes? Or?
No, it implied to me that they had some sort of budget cuts or staffing problems, one or the other. I don't know which.
So I don't like that where there's not, when the library isn't accessible on the weekends to hang out. I spent so much of my college years in the library. And, not looking at books necessarily, but just hanging out there and studying and everything. I always felt that was a great place to be. So that threw me.
I thought it was sad.
Yeah.
I mean, we were there in the morning, and so it wasn't super active. The campus is beautiful. Like, it's just gorgeous.
It's beautiful. And it's absolutely beautiful.
There was a lot. The bookstore across the street, there were young women studying, and there were, it's women's college. I
like the chapel.
The chapel was beautiful.
It was very beautiful.
I mean, the classrooms everything there is nice.
Yeah. The admissions office.
Yeah.
Porch.
The little maker space.
Yeah,
that
was
so twee. It was adorable.
Yeah, that was great. So there's a lot of good things there. Again, I just was hesitant with the library being closed on weekends.
Yeah, and it's just I think that's the same sort of thing. I mean, when we were at Oglethorpe, kids were all like in sports and at a performance
and watching birds.
We saw that they were clearly, but I was like, there are two young women with binoculars on either side. We had to realize that's what they were doing. They were bird watching.
Yeah.
But it was I liked that, but also it wasn't like, I mean, if you got to a school like that and you didn't find your people and you didn't,
it's really small.
It's really small.
Yeah.
And it's residential, and that's where you are, and so you really want to be sure that you've got the right fit.
Yeah.
For these small schools.
Which, Oglethorpe. I think we've talked about them all.
Oh, and Queens.
Oh, Queens. I liked Queens initially.
Yeah, it was okay.
And the longer we spent there, the more I was a little
really pretty.
Like I was hopeful with the music department, and they have music therapy with labs and everything. But once we went in the music building, again,
I think nursing is really good there.
Yeah. Certain programs
are really good there. The neighborhood was really nice.
Oh, I would be very happy there.
I mean, that's the other thing. I think sometimes like families worry about like particular schools and particular places. That was like an example. Oglethorpe too. Like were examples of like, these are like nice neighborhoods. Like, you will feel comfortable sending your child here, which actually matters for some families a lot. And so, whereas I sent my kid to Clark, so,
Go, it's fine.
Sorry, Clark. Okay. Sorry, Worcester.
Yeah.
I know. Don't tell him I said that, because he he defends Worcester to the death.
He loves it.
Oh, he loves it.
Yeah, he loves Clark, so that's good. But overall, I think it's great. All the schools we saw, different takeaways, but I think each school might be right for a certain student.
Oh, absolutely. We haven't been anywhere where I was like, this school is terrible.
Yeah.
I would not send a student there. I would send the right kid to every one of those.
Yeah.
Okay, so building a list, that was our question ahead of time.
Let me get my glasses on, which has
So she had 2 pairs of glasses. And she left the good ones in the car on the way to get to me to come on this trip. Then she had another pair, and she left them who knows where. And then we went to the Publix and bought her another pair.
Oh, I know where I left that pair. It was when I was taking a picture in front of the big oak tree at Clemson, and they flew off.
Oh, they flew off. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we went to the Publix and got her another pair, and she sat on them. And then she spent 2 days with the glasses not having the side piece, and they were like this on her all the time, and
didn't bother me.
And so then finally yesterday we went to Buc-ee's.
Don't get me started on that. That was that. Now that.
And Jill, and I was like, Jill, maybe they have glasses here, and she was like, at the gas station, but it was Buc-ee's, and so they did.
And they were nice.
They're so
like
cute.
They're the cutest ones I've gotten. So thank you, Buc-ee's. I'll never go there again, but I did get glasses.
That was it. We've done it. That was Buc-ee's.
Okay, question. What's your best advice for starting to build a college list?
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot about the colleges near me, but think my youngest might find a better fit at a small college farther from home. Right now, the only places she knows she wants to apply is our state flagship. So we have ways to go to flesh out a good list. We have our FIS guide, which is good. Colleges that change lives, also good. But if you can't go on a cross-country trip, what's the best way to learn what is out there? Well, first of all, I just want to say one thing real quick. Not everyone can go on a cross-country trip.
No.
This is actually amazing that we are able to do this. But when my youngest was applying to colleges, he had seen a few, none on his, considering that once he got in, wasn't able to see any of them. So there are ways to do that. But what were you going to say? And then I'll add more.
I mean, I think you start with your local colleges and just sort of see like what are the aspects that the student gravitates towards.
Yeah.
And that's why you go see, I mean, I think everyone should start with their local schools. I mean, and we always say, do not visit an Ivy League school first. Like, don't take your kid to Rice first. Like, don't take your kid to Emory first. Don't take your kid to Duke first. Like, don't take your kid. Like tomorrow we're going to go through Austin. Don't take your kid to UT first. Don't take your kid to these schools that are lotteries for everyone.
Yeah.
And it does not matter how amazing
Especially
they are.
as the first school.
No, not as the first school. Never do that.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. But then second, I think you just start locally and you go to, almost everyone, has a liberal arts school, a smallish liberal arts school within a 2 to 3 hour drive of them. And a larger state school within a 2 to 3 hour drive of them. And I think that's where you start. And you just go visit them and see what it is. I mean, sometimes some students are like, I like both of these. Or sometimes some students are like, this is terrible. But the reason it's terrible is something that won't apply to other schools. So then you have to go see it something else. And you just kind of keep going. What are the things that appeal to them? What are the things that don't appeal? And then...
I feel like you had a revelation there.
No, I did. Because I wasn't going to say, but then you realize that maybe, once you've honed it all down, there isn't a perfect school.
There is not a perfect school.
No.
And if you had the perfect experience when you were younger, that's great. Or if one of your kids just is loving everything, fine. But really, it's hard to hit every box that a student has.
Yeah.
And everyone has to be able to bend a little bit. Because there's certain aspects that maybe are more important than others. Mm-hmm. But I think for someone who can't get out to visit, I absolutely think looking at local schools first, just to get an idea, is how you start. Yeah. Also do an official tour there at those two, if you have two.
Yeah, or three. See a secular school and a religious school if religious schools are on the table. See a more techie kind of school versus a more liberal arts school.
Yeah, whatever is around
different options.
Then start going, read the FIS guide. That's really good.
FIS is good.
Not every school's in there, but most of them are. Mm-hmm. College that changed lives. If you think that your kid is a good match for a small liberal arts school, that's a great place to start. Mm-hmm. Then I always recommend finding student-made videos. That's really helpful to see what people really think that are there at the moment. I mean,
it's good to see the school's own promotional materials or
how they're promoting themselves.
Attend their virtual tour or their virtual information session. Those are good. But and go to a local college fair. You can talk to them. NACAC fairs those are the big ones typically, and there's usually one regionally near-ish to people.
There's also a college that changed lives goes around a lot.
They
of
do,
places.
yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, sometimes I think families, maybe I should say, spend so much time trying to craft the perfect college list. Sometimes you just apply to schools that you think may work. Mm-hmm. and that they're financially affordable.
You don't have to visit first.
Yeah, and you don't have to love them all.
No.
In the beginning, and then you find out where your student finds out where they've been accepted, what kind of scholarships they got, and then they attend a virtual admitted student day, and they start talking to people, and they start joining the student groups. I think those are so helpful. Admitted student groups.
I feel like it's
almost backwards.
I feel like some people think that it's going to be a recipe, like you get to cook it from the beginning, but actually it's a menu. You get to order something.
Right.
And it's really...
You just made my mind go like that.
Did I?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, okay, let's explain this.
I like a good forced metaphor.
Okay. Go with it.
No, but it's true. And so, there's limitations, like a menu, and at different stages, like you decide, am I going to this restaurant or that one? You keep limiting it down. And the kid, their stats and their applications, like they limit it too.
Yeah.
The cost limits it.
The cost does. Yeah.
All of those things limit it until you're left with the final set of menu options. I can get this, or this, and
then go deeper and really explore it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And you keep exploring more at different stages, but so that final stage, it's really the picking at the end stage that I think is really good too. I mean, there's these sort of different moments that you want to be sure that you've really explored your options and put a good set of options down.
Right.
And then there's the point where you're like, okay, this is the options that are left.
This is what's left. That's it. I will say with the FISC guide, there's often if you like a school, they list other schools that are somewhat related.
Yeah, the overlaps.
And that's always good to go look at if there's something. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of data out there. A College Kickstart is a good source for like some basic data and stuff. That's a good one to join. So there are resources, but I think
the thing I would say, really my biggest advice is that stop thinking that if my kid wants A, B, C, and D, that there's got to be a lot of schools that check all those boxes, and those are the schools we're going to apply to. We're not going to look at anything else.
Yeah,
even if the school has A, B, D.
Yeah, exactly. I think
that's A and B. Sometimes those are good matches in the long run.
Don't assume that your kid will want something. Like Jill is not a child, and she thought she would like small schools better, but she doesn't.
No, I don't.
But I think it's like a lot of the time, I talk to parents and they're making a lot of assumptions, like, okay, this is, my child will need this type of school. My child will need this. They will do better in this type of thing. And then you talk to the kid, or the kid goes to visit somewhere really different and they really like it. And so then you have to think, okay, well, what else is like that? Let your preconceived notions go, where a student is like, I want something really small, but also I really liked Clemson. Okay, well then maybe you should also go look at NC State and Auburn and, go look at these bigger schools, because maybe actually that's what you want. And sometimes you have an idea that like what you want is something different.
Yeah, completely. So for my oldest, he thought he did want a really small school. He started off at Hamilton, but then he transferred to Virginia Tech and realized,
he wanted the resources of a big school.
He wanted the resources of a big school.
And the in-depth coursework.
Yeah, and he loved it.
He also really liked Hamilton in some ways.
He did like Hamilton, and he actually thinks all students should start at a small liberal arts college. He thinks that we should change like some laws or something, that you have to start at a small school for 2 years and then transfer to a big state school.
Speaking of which, Emory has the perfect program.
Which he almost went to.
I know.
That would have been perfect for him.
I know, right?
I love this Emory program, for those who have not heard of it.
It's
much
more competitive than it used to be, which is the Oxford Emory program.
Yeah.
We started the Oxford campus, which is like an hour outside Atlanta.
And it's a small little school.
And it is. It's like a small liberal arts school that they bought.
So the acceptance rate is still a little higher than Emory, but Emory's acceptance rate is a lottery, so it's not that it's amazing, but it's a nice setup.
There's not a lot of programs like that. I mean, Northeastern has some. There's a few things.
There's a few,
but it's
you could just always become a transfer student. It's not easy.
I mean, that can be that.
I know.
Challenges.
I know. He got lucky. Yeah,
he did get lucky.
Okay. Anything else we should discuss?
No, I think we're good.
Have we learned anything else on this trip?
Have we learned anything?
Else? I feel like we've learned things. No?
Jill told me she learned I was Southern. I'm like, I've been Southern the whole time.
I didn't realize how Southern. That was my own preconceived idea.
I don't live here anymore, so it's, and I'm not, Texas is not, I've not even really visited Texas that much, but, well, Texas is its own thing. I feel like I have to clarify.
Okay, yeah. Texas is its own thing. I like,
Yeah. No, but I'm from Georgia.
I know you're from Georgia. And I learned all
And
this.
North Carolina.
We stayed with her mom the first night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
We're going to finish with your family.
Yeah. I can't promise that'll be as nice, but it should be. No, I think, I didn't know you were so Southern.
Okay.
She's from the South, so if anyone doesn't know
I didn't know she couldn't drive at night.
Oh.
It turns out I have to every time.
Okay, well, to clarify, I'm driving all day.
Yeah, most of the time she's doing the driving. And because she can't read in the car, so then I
can't read in the car. So anyone who's emailing us or posting or anything, I'm just driving. Unfortunately, I cannot do anything, except when it gets dark, and then we pull over and she jumps into the.
Literally last night.
We literally. Well, I couldn't see. It got so dark.
I suddenly looked up. I was like, "It's dark," and you were like, "I have to pull over."
I can't drive at night. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye. How do we end this?
I don't know. Now we're stuck. We're just gonna be on here forever.